Okay, so can both of you guys see my screen?
I can
Yes.
see your screen.
All right, so we've actually got the match pulled up, and this is who and who fighting, guys.
All right. Ryuden is on the left, and Takayasu is on the right.
Okay, and both of them are there are different ranks in sumo, and we haven't really talked about that with the new folks. Could you give us just a quick rundown of what the difference are and what these gentlemen are comparatively?
Well, Takayasu is an Ozeki, which is the second highest rank in sumo. It is the last rank that a wrestler can earn on their own. The rank of Yokozuna is awarded by a council, and there are certain requirements for that. But to reach the rank of Ozeki, I believe you need to make 33 wins within 3 tournaments.
Yeah, that's the recommended criteria. Generally, that's enough to do it. There are some weird outliers to that, but that's the kind of the standard, the bar that they set.
That's a pretty high bar. I mean, that's winning basically 75% of your fights over 3 tournaments.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, and that's why you'll see wrestlers like Tochinoshin recently was demoted from Ozeki because he did not successfully maintain his Ozeki rank, and then he was given a chance to get the prerequisite 10 wins, I think, to maintain it, and he failed to achieve that, so he was demoted from Ozeki to Sekiwaki, I believe. And then came back in the tournament after and did get the 10 wins he needed to get promoted back up.
Well, I don't think he needed 10 in that one tournament. He just had to have a winning record. He just needed a Kachikoshi.
Kachikoshi? Okay.
Yeah, he failed to get it in his final fight that tournament, but that's the fight that also got Takakeisho to get his because they had denied him the tournament before.
Now, and Kachikoshi means more wins than losses, so an 8-7 record in a tournament, correct?
Yeah, 8-7 or better, yes.
And a Makekoshi is a losing tournament, which is 7 wins and 8 losses or worse.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and start it back up again and let you guys do commentary as we go through.
Okay, before you start, hold on a second. Ryuden on the left is right now at the rank of Komusubi.
That is not what I was trying to do.
Sorry. Komusubi is the first rank up from the Magashira rank and file wrestler group. I forget what the term is for the Komusubi and above ranks. There is a term for those wrestlers as a group. But the Komusubi rank is one of the hardest to keep, I think, because usually it's the first time a wrestler is wrestling in the higher tier of wrestlers. So they'll be wrestling more of the Ozeki and the other high level wrestlers. So it's a hard rank to maintain, and so you'll see a lot of ups and downs in the Komusubi ranks.
And just to clarify, the only rank that you cannot be demoted from is Yokozuna, correct? The highest possible.
Correct.
Once you achieve that, you're a Yokozuna for the rest of your life.
Correct.
So funny thing I learned. Do you know where Yokozuna originated?
I do not.
It basically the highest rank used to be Ozeki, and then an Ozeki that performed sumo for the emperor. So in front of the emperor was basically called a Yokozuna, or that was sort of what, it was a Yokozuna performance, something like that. And one guy who had performed for him said that I want that to be my title. Then I have performed in front of the emperor. I'm a Yokozuna. That is now my title as opposed to Ozeki, and that means that I am above a regular Ozeki. And over time, that then became its own rank in competitive sports sumo, and now that's a totally separate thing to become, because, like Paul said, there's an actual group, the Yokozuna council, that has to sit down and say, not only have you done the equivalent of winning 2 tournaments back to back, or at least very close thereof, but do you represent Japanese culture? Do you understand the importance of sumo and the history and culture behind sumo? And do you represent that well? And I mean, there's a lot to doing that other than just I'm really good at fighting in the ring. So it's an interesting history.
It's big timing it so hard it became a thing. You can't help but respect that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
all right.
Ready to start, guys?
Ready.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, they're getting ready here. I would say Takayasu had the better Tachi right there. He definitely moved Ryuden back a step off center.
He came in fast, but he's throughout the whole match. He seems to be angled funny.
Yeah,
he's got that deep grab in on the left side, so his left shoulder's forward, and he's using that right arm to bind Ryuden's left arm.
Yeah, Ryuden definitely has a better angle on him. You can see that right there. You can see he was almost 90 degrees to his shoulder. And so he's definitely got a better stance there. Takayasu's burning a lot more energy trying to keep his position. But having that deep grab on the Mawashi also allows him to pull Ryuden into him closer.
Yep. But see, Ryuden works really well to keep his center of gravity low. He's staying down under Takayasu. And Takayasu's just trying to keep him from getting that left arm grab.
Yeah. Ryuden does a great job extending his body out and keeping himself from being able to get pulled in. I wonder if Takayasu would have the presence of mind to try a slap down if Ryuden, if he just stepped back when he was near the center of the ring, if he would have had Ryuden off balance enough for that.
I think he might have, because he's so forward heavy right now.
Yeah. And right there, Ryuden went in for that grab, and that forced Takayasu to twist down, and that gave Ryuden the balance he needed to start pushing him out. But Takayasu, knowing where he was, did a great job of twisting himself at the end so he didn't fall with Ryuden on top of him. He forced them to fall at about the same time.
Okay, so they did call for a mono-e, which is when the judges deliberate the referee's call.
And we talked about this on a previous version. You'll see Forrest brought up that they come in and you can see that he brought his elbow in, or his leg in. So essentially they're going to hit almost at the same time because I apologize, it's not Ryuden, it's the other wrestler.
Takayasu
brought his leg in, pulled his leg in order because he's got a very good grasp of field conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah, he kind of puts his knee up against Ryuden's stomach because if he leaves it out, it's going to touch down quicker. So he's trying to keep his body from hitting the ground for as long as possible because the first one to touch loses.
Yeah, and from this angle, it looks like Ryuden would have touched first, but they were both kind of in an uncontrollable fall out of the doyo.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to hit this one again, and this time discuss the actual terminology that we're using, because there's a lot of terminology that we're throwing around, and all of our new players are probably going to listen to this and go, well, that's great. I appreciate that you explained this to me. I have no idea what you just said.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So, and I'm terrible with the names. I fully admit that I'm absolutely terrible trying to pronounce any of the names in this, so I'm going to defer to you gentlemen on this. But in this initial page right now, you've got essentially the two wrestlers and their stats. You'll notice that one is 335 pounds, the other is 392 pounds, but of a very similar height. They're about 2 inches apart in height. So I'm assuming that extra 50 pounds of weight makes a significant difference in these kind of things.
Not so much as you'd think.
Okay, for example.
I mean, the wrestlers can weigh anywhere. The smallest guy in this tournament is 225 pounds. The biggest guy is about 500. But you'll see guys that have a 150 pound weight difference. Sometimes bigger than that, who get manhandled by the technique of the other fighter. You've started the tape, by the way.
I know. I was just trying to clear to clear it so we actually had a view.
And so it's weight can play a difference, but it is not, in my opinion, it's not the overall determiner. It's really how well your style, whether you're a pusher thruster or a Mawashi fighter. how well you can utilize your technique. Size can help you, but I've seen guys who were quite large compared to their opponent get manhandled because the other person had a better technique that day.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at like Ichinojo, he's the biggest wrestler currently active in the highest ranks of sumo, and the smaller wrestlers will come out and just get aggressive with him and just get him off balance and push him out.
So that guy's 2.2 endos by volume.
Yeah. Enho.
Enho, not
Yeah.
endo. I always do that.
Yeah, Enho's the little one. Real quick, you got it paused here. So the guy in the wonderful outfit in the center of the screen is the Goji. That's your referee. Right, yes. And the thing in his hand, that's called the Goombai. Am I correct on that, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is how he will indicate that, you need to get ready. He will, when they start, he will indicate that it's a good start. And then when somebody wins, he will point that towards which side of the ring has won, and he must make a call. Even if it was too close for him to really know what happened, he has to make a call at the end of each fight before anything else can happen. So they can't have a mono-e, they can't do anything until he determines who he feels won. And I know that if they're wearing purple, they are the highest ranked referee, not their outfit, but the rope around their waist and around their neck, if that's purple.
Well, there's two different families that do the job. And I think the different rope colors represent the different families too. And there are different, like, red and white.
You're talking about this right here, right, guys?
Badges. If you look up by his collar.
See it right there? Yeah.
And here.
Yeah, I know one of the families, purple, is their highest ranking official. I don't remember what the other family's colors are. But anyway, that's the Goji. And Paul, what do we call that thing they're wearing around their waist that everyone's going to call a diaper, which is not what it is?
The Mawashi.
Yes.
And if you lose your Mawashi, you lose. Isn't that one of the rules?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, you can be penalized for not having your Mawashi tied on tightly enough or correctly. Like that you can be penalized for that.
And obviously these guys have to tie that on tightly because the amount of force that they're yanking these people with, if it wasn't on correctly, it would just come off.
Oh yeah,
people and they have help tying these things on them too.
Yeah, people will get lifted up by their Mawashi and carried out of the ring at times. I mean, that's a lifter is one style of Mawashi fighter who will lift their opponent out. But there are two wraps around their waist with the Mawashi, and so when somebody grabs at it, they'll talk about a weak grab will be if they only have one layer of the Mawashi, and then a stronger one is where they're all the way, like, have the whole thing, and then a shallow grip is where we're talking about grabbing near the front of the body on the Mawashi. So basically inside the hips. And then if you're kind of outside the hips or behind the body, that's a deep grab. That's where we're talking about Takayasu had that really deep grab. He was grabbing almost the back center of Raiden's Mawashi in this fight.
So that's one way to win. If you were able to pull the Mawashi off of another fighter, which I'm assuming is fairly rare.
I have never seen that, but guess it could happen.
I'm sure if we YouTubed it, we could find it, but
possibly, but it's not a good tactic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but aside from that, what are the ways that either wrestler could win in this instance?
There are only two ways to officially, well, not counting disqualification by your Mawashi coming off. There are essentially two victory conditions. The first victory condition is getting your opponent outside of the dohyo, which is the ring. And the second way is for any part other than the bottom of your opponent's feet to touch the ground.
Okay, so if they drag a toe, it could be enough to lose.
If they drag like the top of their foot, I don't know about just a toe.
Yeah, but often you'll see a knee, a hand, an elbow, some part of their body touch down inside that circle. That's it. You've lost.
Yep.
Or if any part of you steps outside, and if you notice that discoloration around the ring, it looks like there's about a 6-inch discoloration on the dohyo. So right. The dohyo is made out of clay. They make it prior to the tournament every time. So when this tournament's over, they will dismantle the dojo, ship it out, and then for the next one, they'll have, I think it's 20 or 30 guys come in, and by hand, they build this every time.
Yep, packing clay.
Yeah. So that little discoloration is actually sand, about 6 inches spread out of sand, so that when you disturb it, that's enough to show that you stepped out of the ring. So sometimes people stand on the hay bale and their heel might press down just enough that it disturbs the sand. They're out. And so if they had a mono-e, they can come back and they will go on the ring and look and go, nope, you can see right here where the sand is disturbed. He did step out over here before whatever else happened. So that's actually there for a very specific reason, to make sure they can better judge if somebody, grazed their foot out as they were trying to make another move. And I've seen it happen where a guy did a great move and threw his opponent out, but they went back and looked and his heel had grazed the sand while he was doing it, and so he lost.
And I'll get. I want to talk about Mono-e, but I want to do it as we get to the Mono-e that happens in this one.
Yes.
I'm going to start it back up again, and I want you guys to just hit us with the commentary again, and I'll pause it whenever we get to a term that I think would be benefit to have a definition for our new players.
All right. So they're kind of getting ready, and you see that white stuff on the ground is salt that they threw earlier. So there was the Tachiai. And this is where I said you see Takayasu got him back about a good 2 or 3 steps in that initial Tachiai, and that kind of got him set up, but then he couldn't get the right angle.
Tachiai is the initial charge, right?
Yes. And so Takayasu is a very distinct touch. He comes in and always tries to kind of shoulder blast the guy. He'll come in and try to slam them with his left shoulder and knock him back, and he did, but then he couldn't take advantage of it because Raiden got that shallow grip in, and now is, like I said, is at that angle to him where Takayasu is really kind of fighting him off from getting that other grip, and Raiden has a better angle, I think, on this Mawashi battle right now.
Now, you were talking at one point about him potentially stepping back and being able to slap him. In order to win. What did you mean by that?
So go. Can you pause and go back about 2 seconds there, where you
Sure.
saw right there? See how Raiden is almost 90 degrees to the ground?
Right.
He is really leaning in to stop Takayasu from pulling him with that deep grip. If Takayasu, as strong as he is, pulls him in and gets his center of gravity up, he's then going to march him out of the ring. Because Raiden is so overcorrecting and leaning into him, if Takayasu being close to the middle of the ring where he can take a step back and not be in danger of going out, if he right here had been able to step back, let go of Raiden's hand and slap down on the back of his head and neck and push on him, he might have gotten him off balance enough to slap him down, and Raiden would have had to put his hand down because he was falling, and he would have touched the ground with his hand. He would have been out. Now Raiden could have countered that, but I think at this point that could have been a good strategy for Takayasu because of how parallel to the ground Raiden is right now.
Well, and we didn't see a whole lot of it in this match, but open hand slaps are perfectly legal in this sport. It's
Yes.
a closed hand that is illegal, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yes.
All right. I'll go ahead
You
and
can also
start.
grab the head, but you can't grab the hair.
Yeah. If your fingers get tied up in their top knot and you don't immediately disengage, you can be disqualified for that. And I've seen it happen.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I don't think hair pulling should be part of any sport.
Hey, don't kink shame them. So you can see how tired they get. Normally these bouts last 15 to 20 seconds top. Some of them are shorter than that. So in a second, you're going to see Raiden kind of reach in for the belt. And Takayasu's going to kind of, I don't want to say overcommit, but he really leans in to block it. And that's what gives Raiden the chance to pivot him with that shallow grip and start pushing him out from that angle. Right there. Takayasu kind of gets a little too much and he gets off balance, but then very good presence of mind to twist the fall so he doesn't fall with Raiden on top of him.
And Takayasu was trying to do a double arm throw, but he didn't have enough swing to get Ryuden around him.
Now, here we go. Here's a Mono-e. So what does that mean?
So when the Gyoji makes an indication of a victor, and you see 5 judges seated around the ring in the black jackets, if there's any question as to the call that was made, the 5 judges would get together and discuss what happened, what each of them saw from their perspectives. And then they will either agree with the Gyoji's call or they will reverse the Gyoji's call.
And they do have access to a guy, believe it or not, a guy up in the booth with instant replay. Which, if I remember correctly, they started using instant replay way before American sports did. I want to say it was sometime either in the 50s or 60s. There was a call that was so bad, they were so upset about a call that got made that they sort of demanded that something be done about it. And so they started using the video, footage to go back and look at things. Now they didn't have instant, like slow motion and stuff going on like then, but they've been using it for a while. And so the guys in the ring, the referees in the ring that are trying to look at what happened can call up to the guy in the booth and be like, hey, what did you see? Like, what happened?
Awesome. And in this case, they ended up not overturning the call, but simply saying it was too close to call correct and that they needed to refight it.
Well, so they did overturn it. They did say that the call could not stand because it was too close to call. So there's 3 calls they can make. They can uphold it. You know what? The Goji was absolutely right. They can overturn it and say the Goji got it wrong. The other person won. Or they can say the Goji's call can't stand because it was too close and we can't determine that he was right. It looked like they fell out together or they were both out of control at the same time. So we're going to make them refight it out of fairness.
Now, is that what a Torinosh, the term that they just popped up on screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Torinoshi is a rematch.
Do-over.
So now they go through the entire ceremony again, is that right?
Yeah, so you'll see they come in and they bow to each other, they touch the ground, they grab the salt, they throw it in the ring, they wipe themselves off with towels, they'll slap themselves, their body, their face, their legs, to kind of get ready for, the hitting and stuff that's about to happen.
There are certain required rituals like throwing of the salt and the water of power, but when they're slapping themselves and psyching themselves up, that's their own little personal ritual that they do.
And I wish we had a good view of Takayasu's starting ritual, because he does the most unique thing where when he goes to grab the salt, he kind of it's like boom, and he kind of flexes his lats, up around his neck, and just kind of squeezes his arms and kind of rocks back and forth for a second. Nobody else does it. It is completely
he always
unique
looks
to him.
a certain direction when he does it too.
Yes, and this, I don't mean this to sound mean, because I totally mean this with respect, but it looks like he is channeling George the Animal Steel for half a second.
Yes.
Tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead.
No, that's what I've noticed too.
Hey man, wrestlers get inspiration from anywhere they can find it.
Yep. I'm saying, and that is said with all respect.
And you'll notice too that Takayasu is kind of one to play head games with his opponents. So usually he'll wait for them to go down and get into position before he will drop down. He likes that last bit of, I don't know, height advantage until he's ready to start.
And would you say that that's kind of an upper tier thing for the upper tier Rikishi, the Yokozuna no Zeki? Because I know Hakuho does it. Kakaru doesn't do it quite as intensely, but he'll do it. I don't think Tochinoshin always does it, and I don't think Goeido always does it, but I think more of the upper tier guys are kind of like, you have to get in position first, and then I'll decide what I want to do.
I don't know if it's an upper tier thing. It's just kind of a few of the wrestlers really play more head games than the others do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I forget if it's Abi, I think. Abi's like down and ready to start and just like get it on. But Hakuho especially does that.
Yes.
And like, this is my doyo. I'm going to own it and command it. And you're going to get down. I'm not going to get down until after you. And there was one match. Was it Hakuho and Takayasu?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It took forever for them to get down.
You could cut the tension with a knife.
It was incredible.
And in fact, what happened there, I know it's not part of this match, but just so you kind of get how the mental stuff plays in. Takayasu refused to squat down first. And you could tell Hakuho was getting frustrated with it. And Takayasu was like, I'm not going to break. And so when they finally started to kind of get down, Hakuho immediately touched the ground, stood up before Takayasu had even made a motion that he was ready, and walked over right into Takayasu's space. Not like it was actually a tachi that he realized had been a false start. He just made the motion of, I'm going to touch, I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to walk over into your space like you don't get to control how this goes. Like, it was a very clear mental message of, this is my ring. You're going to do things on my terms.
I want to say you will respect my authority so bad it's not even funny.
Really, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay,
here we go.
And here is this is the second fight. This is the refight that the judges have determined that they need to do because the first one was unclear.
This is the mulligan. So see, he waits for Ryuden to get down and in position. And then boom. See, now you notice there his tachi on the first one, he got Ryuden back a good 1 or 2 steps. On this one, they met in the middle, and Takayasu didn't get him moving back until after the initial tachi. Right. But God, that was a good move. I mean, getting that arm up and around was really impressive. I thought he was dead to rights right there. So you can see Ryuden's nipple touch the ground. You can see the dirt on it. So we got watch this tachi. He comes in shoulder blast. Ryuden doesn't move. In fact, then Ryuden kind of starts moving him for a second. And now once he gets that deep grip again, gets him back, but Ryuden breaks it. Nice move on Ryuden's part.
Oh, he almost got around behind him.
Yeah, well, you notice his grip was so deep, it was on the other side of the Mawashi. He reached around behind the center, but he got a nice turn. And then right there, tries again, and God, that's close. Like, I think that should have been another Mono-E, because his knee and Ryuden's hand seemed to touch down simultaneously.
Yeah.
Now, could this be a situation where Ryuden just seemed to have much more control when they went down?
If you have your opponent completely out of control, like I'm thrusting you out of the ring and you're 2 feet in the air and I'm shoving you like a volleyball, and you're kind of like off the dojo itself, like the whole square, you're like in the air off it, and I step out and you haven't touched yet, the majority of the time I will get that win because I had you completely out of control, off the dojo. You just hadn't touched down yet because you were still flying through the air. I had complete control of the match. And this one, I don't think you could say that, because as much as Ryuden was pushing him out at the end, Takayasu had again the presence of mind to go for that double arm twist to try and get himself on top of Ryuden. He just couldn't get him turned around in time. But right there, I mean, you can't go to the options real quick, Haven. Pause it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, pause it and go to your options down there in the corner. You should be able to play it at different speeds. Settings right there. Playback speed. Go to 0.25 or 0.5. Let's go real slow here.
Let's go 0.5 to start with.
All right, right there. Well, you're going way back. All right. So now we got slow motion.
Sorry.
No, it's good. So right there's where he gets around, and he can't quite step around behind him in time. And Takayasu does a great windmill with his arm here to get up and over the head and get back in position to not get turned around. And you see how far back he's bent. His foot on that hay bale really helped him right there.
Oh, that knee looks like it hit just a fraction of a second beforehand.
See, that's what I'm saying. We're in slow motion of slow motion, and it's hard to tell. See, because
Ooh, that still looks simultaneous.
Yeah, I can't tell. Try quarter speed. Let's go quarter speed, and let's really... All right, that's good enough.
I wanted to back it up to where we'd have a good bit of a running start. Figuratively speaking.
Right.
Oh.
See, I want to say, if anything, I would give Ryuden's hand about 1/millionth of a second before the knee.
Well, look at Takayasu's hand. It looks like it might be dipping below the level of the dohyo. There.
But see, look, but by the time it does, his hand is already touched. Go back. Look, boom. See, his fingers are starting to go below, but I don't think it was far enough below that they would have called that before the hand and the knee touch. It's just, again, this one was, that they should have had a second mono-e, and I think, honestly, they just didn't want to call a second one. And I don't know if that's standard. I've never seen 2 mono-es in one fight, but it honestly, to me, looked like they were just like, you know what, we've already overturned the Goji's decision once, we're not going to do it again. We're just going to let it stand.
I think that's the best place I can pause it, really, to...
Yeah. Now back up, and I want to show you something. Back up like just like a half a second. Right there. You see Takayasu's foot on the hay bale? Perfectly legal. Unless you're Tochinoshin, that you'd be considered out.
Well, no, his heel was a lot further out on the Tochinoshin there. But it didn't touch the sand.
It did not touch the sand. I'm still mad about it.
You know, it doesn't matter if you get robbed at knife point or gun point. You're still being robbed.
That's right. So, but anyway, so that would be a win for Ryuden. They would both be 1-1.
Just one more time.
And for those of us in Fantasy Sumo League, because Ryuden is lower ranked, he's a Komusubi, and Takayasu is an Ozeki, he picks up a bonus point for beating a higher ranked opponent. That would be a 2-point win for him today.
Yep.
And there have been a number of 2-point wins already in this.
Yeah, I was surprised.
It reminds me of the one in March. A lot of 2-point wins in March at the start.
Well, Paul, Forrest, really appreciate you taking the time today. I'm sure people that are going to watch this are going to be either happy that we did this or thoroughly confused.
Well, they can post in the comments and say if they like it or not. If they want to see us commentate on some more videos or not, that's totally up to them. I'm happy to do it.
And it'd be a lot of fun. I think the problem we're going to run into is that it took us 32 minutes to go through one match. So, well, since there are only 15 days of this, I think we'd get through day 3 about the time we are on day 19 of the tournament.
I think if we do this in the future, it would just be picking 1 or 2 highlighted matches, but we wouldn't have to explain terminology again unless it was a new term that came out. Yeah. So we've covered the basic terms. I think now we could just talk about the fight itself, and probably only take about 10 minutes to do that.
Very true. Might be fun to pick somebody, one person per day, and then go through all of their person's fight. All of their stables fights. So,
sure.
Do Sarah one day, anybody but the 3 of us, obviously.
Why?
Okay, I take that back. We should totally do mine because I'd love the insight.
All right, we can do. You know what? We'll do yours for. Well, tomorrow will be the last time I can do it unless we want to wait until next week.
Which is fine. I'd be happy to do it tomorrow.
So yeah, so we can do your fights tomorrow if you want to.
Okay.
I'm up for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna put this up kind of unedited at this point, and people can just deal with it. It'll be fine.
All right. You can stop recording.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.